Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
How are you?
Fine.
Great.
Great. Well, we're going to have a conversation about foster care, life after foster care, and First Place for Youth. So I'd love for you to talk as openly and candidly and freely as you ever have, and be at ease. We're just having a conversation among friends. And what we're going to do is hopefully change some people's ideas and opinions and how they create the right kind of resources and the right kind of supports for young people like yourselves and all the ones that are going to follow after you. And so, if you could change anything in the foster care system, what would it be? And go first, Sky Celine.
I wish that they would allow us to meet the people that we're going with before placing us with them. A lot of the times they just place us with these people, we don't know who they are. That's very scary, coming from traumatizing situations.
I would say listening to the youth. I think oftentimes, like, our voices aren't being heard. We'll speak and we'll speak and we'll speak, and they're not listening to us. And I feel like if they actually listen and take the time to actually hear what we're saying, it would really be beneficial.
I believe a great change would be raise awareness around resources that are available to foster youth and families surrounding that said foster youth.
Thank you for that. Let me tell you, I heard something recently, and I thought it was really profound. Someone said that sometimes being put in foster care can be more traumatizing than spending life in jail and dealing with some of the stressors that happen when you're incarcerated. That's something that resonated for you some way. What comes to mind when you hear that?
So when I was put into foster care, it felt like I was already coming from a traumatizing situation, and it felt like, and when I went into these group homes and foster homes, it felt like I was basically like even more in trouble, but for speaking up. You know, it's like I'm getting out of my home, like, in hope that I'll get help, in hope that I'll be seen, and I didn't get that help. And I feel like it left me in a place where I really just didn't want anything to do with adults at that
Absolutely.
point. Or any family.
Now, how old are you? I'm going to start with you, Mike Keith, and you can go down the line. How old are all of you, just so I can get a sense of where you are in life?
I'm 20 years old.
20?
I'm 20.
20.
I'm 21.
21.
I will be 22 this year.
Nice, nice. So the reason why I asked the question about age, I'd love for you all to share your thoughts on what should a person who's 18 years old and thinking about transitioning from foster care be thinking about? What are some of the challenges for a person at 18 years old?
I think going through their own traumas as well as having to navigate life. I feel like we're still going through what we dealt with when we were children, even teens, because I got out when I was 16. So, dealing with all that trauma as well as having to navigate life and be successful is really hard. And sometimes we don't have the support system that can really help us. So sometimes we're just like struggling, as an 18-year-old, not knowing where to go, not knowing what to do, not knowing how to get there, not knowing what path to take and how to even navigate that path.
What else? What are 18-year-old youth exiting foster care thinking about? What are they stressing about? What are they talking about?
Stability is a big one.
Stability.
Where am I going to go? Who do I go with? That was a big question for me.
I definitely asked that question myself too. I already knew I was going to go to college. I knew I was going to go to Cal State LA, but I did not know how. I did not know what housing. I did not know what apartment. I did not know who family to go to. I didn't have that, so I was struggling. I really did not know how to get to school. Honestly, I was living 2 hours away at the time, so it was really hard for me to figure out how to get to school, honestly, and not having any stability, not knowing family members, not knowing friends, even not knowing anybody, like resources or programs. You're just like stuck, honestly.
And it doesn't help if you have a social worker who does not help you. So 2 weeks before I turned 18, my social worker was going on vacation. She was going on a cruise, and I was homeless. And I had to couch surf. I ended up getting, on the day of my 18th birthday, I had to get 2 jobs. I got a second job because I was like, well, if I'm not gonna have a place to stay, I might as well be working, making money, trying to save so that I can have a place to stay.
happen is that someone turns 18 and leaves foster care into homelessness with all those questions and doubts and wonderings about what the future may look like.
I feel as though First Place providing me with housing stability greatly improved my performance in community college. It greatly improved my hope in myself and believing that I will be able to transfer to four-year colleges of my dreams. Without First Place for Youth, I think that it would be a lot different. Think that it would be a lot harder.
Earlier, all of you talked about how you were taken and put into different placements and in other people's homes. And maybe that word home is used too loosely. Because when I think of home, home is a place where there's lots of love, nurturing, people genuinely caring for you unconditionally, and making sure that everything that you need, you're given. How have you all created your own sense of home since coming into contact with First Place for Youth?
Big one for me was peace. I think not having peace, not having your own space. I feel like at first I thought it was space that I wanted. I craved space. I craved just having something that I could call my own. But I realized that it was actually peace that I actually wanted. I wanted to just be able to just breathe and be able to just be able to just say that this is mine and I can do whatever I want and not have any interruptions or have anyone bothering me. Just be able to just breathe, honestly, peace.
I started to think of home as more so of a support system and those who enrich me and not necessarily a location. And right now what that looks like is calling up my education and employment specialist whenever I have an upcoming interview and he gives me tips and giving him the news that I ended up getting the job through the use of the tips that he's just given me.
A home to me should feel like a place of comfort. It should also be just a place of just stability. And also, prior to just coming into First Place, I didn't know that a home was supposed to be a safe place, that you deserve to have running water and no pest infestations, and that you're able to decorate your room the way that you want it, and just it's supposed to be a place where you can just be you. And I did not know that until coming into program. So
All the things that you just mentioned, running water, a place with no rodent or bug infestation, a place that's warm, that's the bare minimum. That's what you're supposed to give every young person, every child. So if that's your bar, your standard, that's still insufficient. That's still neglect. Where you have to go to the next level is nurturing, where you let young people test and learn, make mistakes, fall down, and then be right there to pick them back up and watch them every step of the way. That's the commitment that we all should have for that's what every young person or every child deserves. So I totally hear you loud and clear on that. Let me ask you the question, why are programs like First Place for Youth important? How are programs like First Place helping young people, as well as our larger society that knows nothing about foster care, understand and believe that more is possible?
If it wasn't for First Place for Youth, I would not be in school right now. I'd probably be working. I'd probably still be homeless. Probably be hopping from house to house. So because of First Place for Youth, I'm able to go to school and I'm able to do a lot of different activities. I have a place to stay. It's stable. I'm growing. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
So for me, I think it's really important because it helped me with my path. I did not want to live the life that I've had lived from my very beginning of life. I didn't want to struggle. I didn't want to not have stability. I craved stability. Like, that was the biggest thing that I wanted, was stability and peace. And so once I was able to get stability through First Place for Youth, it really made a huge difference in my grades and my mental health.
I think First Place, setting aside and designating resources to help those foster youth, is setting up society for a better next generation in the years to come.
for us and other youth, we might come into this program, we might not know how to do certain things. We might not know how to do laundry or cook or clean, and it's like, or how to maintain an apartment. And you come into this program and you learn all of those things, and then you can also probably teach someone else those things.
And if I didn't have my EE and my YA and my other social worker telling me, you got this, you could keep doing it, just keep going, you're gonna figure it out, you're gonna struggle for a little bit, but it will get easier, I don't think, I'd be as successful as I am right now.
with all that you've gone through and all of the successes that you've had and the work that I know you still have ahead of you and all the big goals that you plan for yourself, what gives you hope?
Success and peace. I always wanted to just be happy, and I felt like if I just go through life and take every step by day, I'm going to achieve that, I'm going to be able to be successful.
Setting my eyes on a bright future, a bright goal in the future, and having my support system around me to help me get towards that goal is what gives me hope.
Well, for me, what gives me hope is seeing humanity come together in time of need. It's just nice seeing people just come together and speak up about all of the bad and just people being wrongfully hurt in this world. So that gives me hope, that shows that no matter what, bad in this world, there are people who still genuinely care.
What gives me hope, just piggyback on what Ty just said, is that your generation seems to be moving and shaking and adamant about changing the world as it is for the better, possibly much more aggressively than any other generation. So that is exciting. And I gotta tell you, I'm so proud of seeing so-called Generation Z do their thing. So I gotta tell you, what gives me hope is seeing all of you, and make sure you use me to go after all your goals. That's what I'm here for. What would you say to an 18-year-old right now? What would you, and imagine if it was yourself you were talking to, what would you tell that 18-year-old now after all the things that you've seen and done and accomplished now that you're all in your 20s?
I would say it only took me 3 years. For when I was in it, I thought it was going to be forever. I thought it was going to be like infinity. I thought it was just going to constantly hurt me and constantly be something that's going to be weighing down on my shoulders, and I was never, ever going to be successful or ever have mental clarity. But it only took me 3 years to finally be able to say, I know what peace feels like. I know what stability feels like. And I have a whole life ahead of me. I have decades, centuries, and it only took me 3 years. So.
Yeah, so it gets better, and it doesn't take a lot of time to get there. Okay.
It's funny because it's like you're given the basic necessities, like you're given an apartment, and then you think like, oh, I should be good now, right? I have nothing to complain about. I have a home. I have food. Wrong. You don't realize all the mental struggle that comes to you when you're finally in a place of peace, because you've been at force for so long, and you've been going to the next thing. My life was so go to the next thing, go to the next thing. There was just so much going on that I could never sit with any of the trauma that I had dealt with. But I would tell myself that it does get better, and it did get better. Iron sharpens iron, and you're gonna have to go through those hard times to get better, to get smarter, to become the person you are. And without those experiences, I wouldn't be the person that I am, and I wouldn't have the light that I have.
Foster youth do face a lot of adversity growing up in the foster care system, and with that adversity comes a lot of trauma and baggage that may tag along throughout their journey. And I think it's very important to once again take advantage of the mental health services that are available. The fruits that therapy bear can be very, very helpful regarding you reaching your goals. Take advantage of therapy.
Absolutely. Yeah, a mentor of mine years ago, and I listened to them, said, therapy is the best gift you can give yourself. Yeah, so looking at it that way. Anything else?
I would also say appreciate the little things. I feel like that's sometimes overlooked, but I try to appreciate literally getting $5. Appreciate the little things, because it makes a huge difference in your life and your mental health. Just being able to be I was able to buy this pair of jeans.
I look at like you said, we look back at the things that we have now, and it's we didn't have the chance to get that when we were younger. So it's the fact that we're able to get it now and we're doing it, a lot of appreciation in that.
Not only appreciating the small physical things, but also the emotional things. For example, I got a text from my YA shortly after I entered program, and she was like, "Oh no, it's fine. I was just checking in to see how you're doing." That was very heartwarming because I'm not used to getting those type of texts.
Also acknowledging how far we've come.
Yes.
you know, and we're strong and like we're confident. I think that's amazing.
Absolutely.
Just if you feel comfortable sharing, like, what is your most like proudest accomplishment that you've accomplished these past years? Like just one, if you have, or
Trusting myself. I think that's one of the hardest things I had to deal with was being able to trust myself and trust my decisions that I was making. And for instance, going to therapy and making different decisions besides the ones I was used to, and that will create the same cycle. And like realizing that I was breaking generational curses, and like my decisions and trusting myself and my decisions was like the biggest like accomplishment that I think I faced. Yeah.
And I would say that an episode in life where I faced a big mental health issue regarding a relationship and somebody that I had lost. I did not know what I was going to do if I didn't overcome that mental health issue and panic attacks and anxiety. Reconnection with my therapist has pulled me out of that hole, and when I look back on those memories, it was not only very painful, but it was also impactful, the lesson that I've learned and the way that I've grown from that episode.
For me, it was realizing that I needed help. When I hit 19 years old, I realized that I was going into these patterns where I was doing the same thing, and it was not helping me. It was like ways that I would deal with my trauma before that I thought would help me, and they didn't help me at all. When you grow, you cannot go back to the same bad habits that helped you before because they won't help you grow. You have to find better habits.
for me, I think my biggest accomplishment is removing myself from my abuser, like home, before coming into first place. Just being in that home, it was not good. Like there was, I felt unsafe there. I couldn't be myself. It was just a terrible environment, and just being there, you know, I didn't know that a home was supposed to feel safe, that love isn't supposed to hurt. But given what this person had told me, you know, my foster mother would always try to say, I love you, you know, I do this because I love you, I care about you, not knowing that it was manipulation. So I think first place saved my life, honestly.
Well, it's clear all of you have some amazing levels of resilience.